Okay, it is time to get into this monster, see if we can get her fired up. So one of the first things you got to do if you're going to wake up on these Detroits after a long layup is pull the rocker covers and make sure that the racks and injectors aren't stuck wide open. Otherwise it's a bit like sneaking up behind a sleeping horse and kicking it in the ass. It's just going to go full tilt and you don't want to be around it. So quite simple on these, just 2 bolts. Already disconnected the breather, so I'll whip these off and the other side and we'll take a look. So the news is very good so far. Top end has been receiving oil. All smells okay. No sign of any been push rods or anything, so that's all good. And injectors all seem to be free, which is good, and the same on the other side. A bit of metal in that magnetic plug. Okay, so there was a little bit of metal on the drain plug of the sump. That's all the oil that came out of it. Not surprising. Thing would have been drained before it came out of the building. Well, it doesn't smell bad. Looks a bit more like a Detroit now with some oil underneath it. And what I've done is I've disconnected turbo feed line and fitted this takeoff for an oil pressure gauge, and I've left the original oil pressure cylinder just plugging that hole. So you get some oil in this thing, and actually first I might just bar it over a couple of revolutions, see if it's free. If everything adds up, we'll fill it up with oil. Okay, better start stripping the crispy end of the engine. So start by getting rid of this water heater, and we'll take that off and see if our alternator is fried or not. And if it is, we'll just remove the belt for the moment. Right, so that alternator does turn, but it's probably pretty crispy, so we'll just remove it completely. Better look at it. Right, that's all the surplus nearly removed from here. Just need to get rid of these ground wires here and remove these links, and I'll probably just remove these switches. Don't see the point in keeping them here. Okay, so this is where Detroit people can be a little bit divided, and I know I'll probably get criticism for doing this, but everybody recommends running straight 40 weight in these engines. I can't get it. I've tried. None of the suppliers I deal with have ever even heard of straight 40 weight. So I've got some Shell 1540. I'm going to throw that into it for the moment. I mean, the thing may not even run, so there's no point in wasting any more time trying to get oil, and even if it does, it'll probably need an oil change after. In fact, I should probably be using something cheaper than the Shell, but look, we'll chuck it in here, see what happens. Okay, so that's either 14 or 16 litres of oil, and she's up to just above the low mark. So I'm going to pull the rocker covers now, and we'll bar her over a couple of revolutions and see how everything looks. Let's make sure that the injectors are all still free after that. Okay, so it's going to go through a few things. But this engine, if you're not familiar with it, that middle rocker is, they're actually the injectors under those. So you have 4 exhaust valves per cylinder and 1 injector. So it's getting a low pressure fuel feed in through the head, and that's a combined unit, so that's basically your high pressure pump and injector all in one. So just another little bit of housekeeping as well. That is not a supercharger, as I said in the previous video. That is a blower. So a 2-stroke diesel will not run without a blower to scavenge the gases out of the cylinders. And the other side of it then is if you have one without a turbo, but with the blower, it is still a naturally aspirated engine. That's how what they consider them to be. So just take a break from barely it over for a second. This is potentially some kind of heater or something that had an electrical supply. I've left that there just to blank what was under it. As I said yesterday, I've blanked the turbo port. I've put a connection for my oil pressure gauge on it, and I just need to remove one bolt now and remove that last manual start off of there. We'll bar this over the rest of the way, and then we'll make up some leads, see can we spin it with a battery. Okay, so everything's connected up. I've got voice grips in the rack in case it decides to start. Got another voice grips here holding the throttle to the off position. As I said already, oil pressure gauge is connected and turbo oil feed disconnected. Pair of batteries. Cables coming around here. Straight off the solenoid, one off the main earth connection. Isolation switch and switch, push button switch just to get her started, and of course fire extinguisher to chuck her out on a board ready to go on top of the supercharger if we need to stop it, or sorry, on the blower if we need to cut it off. But it shouldn't start in this position, but we'll just give it a swing and see what happens. Alright, let's crank this thing and see can we get some oil pressure. Okay, let's give it another try and see can I get anything out of it. Okay, nothing. It's not terribly stable either on that pallet. I think we might have to do something better. Hold it in position. Now there is a smell of oil, but I'm not, still not getting any pressure on the edge. Just gonna crack this and see if there's anything there. Right, just about managed to lift it with the loader, and now got the steel under it. She's sitting more or less level in the frame. So plan now is to furl up the welder and start welding those in place, and we can lift the engine off again then. going to start doing next is try to get fuel to the centre injector. Now I cracked all the lines and I cranked it in the hope that I get fuel out of them, and it doesn't seem to have worked. So I don't think it's a coincidence, but both centre cylinders are not firing, they're not making any smoke whatsoever. So I'm going to focus on that for a minute. I've loosened this. I'm not sure which one's the return and injector on one of these. I've taken the chance that it's the outside one. So I'm just going to switch on my electric fuel pump, turn my batteries back on and crank it and see what happens. So I reached out to some experts on these engines, the absolutely excellent Detroit Diesel Enthusiast group on Facebook, and also was in contact with Scott from Bus Grease Monkey and Lord Muck in the UK, and basically they told me to go back to basics, look at my fuel system. So elevated my tank, got rid of as many of these connections as I could, so removed that. Went and make sure that all these connections are made properly. I think just pulling air in different places. The return line still a bit patchy, but it's not as critical. I've fitted a little bit of clear tubing in it so we can see the diesel coming back and see if there's bubbles. And I also went off and bought a fuel pressure gauge, so I've disconnected up here. I'm just going to fire up the electric pump now, see if we can prime part of the system with this. Okay, so I'm just going to use the bleed button. You can see there's still an awful lot of air coming up through the fuel system. So I think we need to go section by section and figure this out. That is not going to help it start. So still getting a load of air. This is the input side of the main filter. So I'm just going to see, or sorry, input side of the secondary filter. Going to see how long this continues, or if it stops at all. Ready? Come on, baby. Oh, right, I'm going to let the smoke clear. Okay, I'm going to just stay out of there for a little bit. It's filled the entire building with smoke and next door. So we'll just let that settle down for a while and we'll give it another shot. Just take it, call Pavera and go in and show you what I've done. I was still getting air out of here. Couldn't seem to, with the electric pump, get all the air out of the system, so I tried raising my fuel tank. I took the primary filter off the side of the engine, stuck it here on top, so that was the highest point in the fuel system, well, after the outlet of the tank. And after advice from several members of the Detroit Diesel Enthusiast Forum, I reluctantly gave in and bought something I've never owned in my life, a can of ether. And I was also advised by Lord Muck, if you haven't watched his channel, make sure you do. He fired up a couple of Detroits and furnished them for a big YouTuber, and obviously a very busy guy. He responded to some questions I asked him about it, and some over and back, and he suggested as well, give you a little sniff of ether, and that'd help her. Just fired up the first time. So we'll let it clear now here for another minute, and we'll give it another swing and see can we get the thing to idle. Okay, so not quite sure how to make of all this. We're definitely not running on all cylinders. I can't get fuel pressure to register here either. So fuel supply obviously still isn't right. Now she is running on, at least she's firing on diesel now, not just ether. And strangely, the cylinder that didn't smoke in this bank, now I'm going to have to look at the video footage, but I think this is the one that was running. I think maybe the two cylinders were running and the others weren't. Certainly wasn't 6 cylinders anyway. So I think I'm going to close out the video at this for now. Probably need to get some parts for this thing and maybe think about getting a set of manifolds for it. But in the meantime, I'd like to know your opinion on it below. Drop a comment, let me know what you think. Is it worth carrying on with this thing, or is it junk, or is my fueling wrong? What's going on? But I think this little pump probably isn't big enough. I might try and get something else, and I might try and buy a tank with a bigger outlet on it as well, and see if that improves matters. I think I might have some, due to I've got some air and some fuel coming out there top the filter, so that isn't helping. So yeah, as I say, let me know what you think, and we take it from there. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed what you saw, and don't forget to drop a comment down below, especially if you can give me some advice on this engine. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to turn your notifications on so you don't miss any future videos. So that's it for this evening, guys. Thanks for watching. See you soon.